I'm Brian Leary. If you were with us a couple of weeks ago on our last show, you know we had a wild finish. Danny Murphy able to pull it out with a couple of clutch marks down the stretch. We'll see what today brings. A new challenge presented to them. You know what's at stake. $500 to the winning team, $300 to the losers. 3 strikes in a row worth an extra payoff of $1,000 in bonus money. We've never been able to do that on this show. 3 marks in a row, $50 in bonus money. And should one of our teams be able to put together a 2-string total of $275, and that hasn't been done for a month or so, there'd be an extra payoff of $200. So that's what they have to shoot for. Now let's get on with the competition. And as always, Steve Vadney will kick it off for the champs. Steve from Claremont, New Hampshire, carries an average of 129. He's got a high triple of 488 and a 197 high single. Bob Delafontaine of Abington. And Steve opens up with a skinny little 7. Bob takes a 10. And we have a 3-pin spread right out of the chute. Right into the black hole. Well, Bob skipped it down there a little bit. Doesn't make out that badly. All right, Steve gets out of that pretty well with a 9. 16 through a couple. Bob waiting for a little wood to settle. Bob has a high single of 193, a high triple of 456, and a 116 average. And he takes another 10. So the lead is 4 pins after a couple. All right, now we have a shot at a spare, finally. There you see the spread, 4 pins after 2. So each bowler with a good spare leave now. Steve gets his. Nice shot. And Bob should have his, and he does. Matching marks in the 3rd. Coming up next week, we'll have bowlers from the Boston area, Herb McCarroll from Dorchester and Tom McKee of Wellesley Hills. And then the women will be with us in a couple of weeks. Steve takes 10, and so does Bob Delafontaine. So the challengers at this point have a 6-pin lead with 1 box more for these guys, and then their partners will step up and finish off the opening string. Good bid. And likewise, and Bob takes them all down, a spare in the 5th. So that sets up his partner, Burt Nicholls, who will be filling out that spare. Steve Vadney with his 10 and 52. So at this point, it's 58 plus a bonus ball for Bob Delafontaine and Burt Nicholls, our challengers, and 52 through a completed 5 for Danny Murphy and Steve Vadney. So part 2 of these teams, Burt Nicholls and Danny Murphy, will be up to finish off the opening string when we come back right after this. All right, here we go with part 2 now. Danny Murphy, who had such a big finish a couple of weeks ago to allow this championship team to stay alive here. And Burt Nicholls working on a spare. How many? 8 on the spare. Danny with a spare in the 6th. Burt looking for 2 in a row. And he's got it. Nice shot. Matching marks now in the 6th. A 14-pin spread at this point for our challengers. All of them on the spare, so there's 3 in a row and $50 in bonus money. And Danny Murphy with a great shot. And he's got 2 in a row. So things are really cooking now. We've got 86 through 6 for our challengers. 96 plus 2 bonus balls for the challengers. So they've got a 19-pin lead plus. Seven on the spare for Danny Murphy. And that's the first bonus ball for Burt Nicholls. And another mark for Danny Murphy. 3 in a row. And $50 in bonus money for him. And Burt with 8 on the strike at 104. And a 10 box, 114 through 8 at this point. So that means that Danny Murphy is looking at a 20-pin deficit. However, he's working on another mark here, so he can cut into that 20 on the spare. Just a couple. Should Danny be able to pull this off, it would be 4 in a row and another 50 in bonus money. And will it go? Almost. Oh boy. All but one. Burt Nicholls now looking for a spare in the 9th. Our challengers coming out flying here. They have yet to leave a pin standing. Started with 10-10, then spare 10, spare, strike 10. Well, doesn't get the spare. Danny Murphy takes a 10, 106 through 9. And there's yet another 10. So their streak of pinning continues. 124 through 9 for our challengers. 106 for our champs. Danny Murphy with a great spare opportunity, with the exception of that piece of wood that may cause a problem there for him. And Burt Nicholls with what looks to be an even better chance at spare. Danny Murphy trying to blow through that. He can't do it. It was a roadblock. Burt Nicholls, however, has clear sailing, and he gets a spare in the 10th. Danny with his 10 and 116. So as Burt Nicholls prepares to fill out the spare here, he's got a great opportunity to pad this lead going into the second and deciding string. Burt already is at 134, working on his bonus ball. And couldn't get much thinner as he just shakes his head and walks away. Just 2 pins on the spare, but still an excellent start for Burt Nicholls and Bob Delafontaine. With the 2 on the spare, it's an opening string of 136 compared to the opening string for our defending champions of Steve Vadney and Dan Murphy of 116. So we've got a 20-pin spread with one string to go. We'll see whether it holds up when we come back right after this. All right, here we go with the second and deciding string now. Bob Delafontaine will start it off for the challengers, who find themselves in a pretty comfy position of leading by 20 big pins. Steve Vadney for the champs. And that's a pretty good start. Steve opens with a strike in the second. Bob Delafontaine. Bob works as a customer service representative for the Roland P. McDonald Insurance Agency. And he opens with another 10. So their streak of knocking everything down continues. 10 has been the smallest total on any given frame so far. We had a stray pin there, so we'll clean them up and reset them. These guys are looking at $500 for the winning team, and our challengers here, Bob Delafontaine and Burt Nicholls, are also looking at perhaps a $275 total, which would pay off an extra $200. They're just about halfway there with that 136 in the opening string. For a spare, just skidded by. Steve Vadney, that's his second bonus ball, so 9 on the strike and an opening box of 19. And another 10 for Bob Delafontaine, 20 through 2. That'll be 9. And 28 through 2 for Danny Murphy and Steve Vadney. Our lob line judge and gutter clearer, Don Riley, today. There you see a 10-pin spread plus the bonus ball. So they're scratching back here. On the spare 5. Bob with a 10. These guys need some marks if they're going to hold on to this lead. Steve with his 9, so that's 52 through 4 for the champs and 38 through 4 for the challengers. So overall then, it's a 6-pin lead for Bob Delafontaine and Burt Nicholls. It had been 20 when we started this string, so the champs are slowly but surely getting back. All right, we'll see who's the better converter here. We have 2 good chances at spare. Bob Delafontaine gets his. So spare in the 5th for the challengers, and we don't have one for the champs. Steve with a 10 and 62 now through 5. To 48 plus on the other side, so it's still a 6-pin lead. However, just add up the number of pins that Burt Nicholls throws down at his first ball here, and that'll be the lead. On top of the 6 that's carried over from the opening. So add 5 to 6, and we have an 11-pin lead overall at this point. Almost. We've seen what Danny Murphy can do just a couple of weeks ago with those 2 clutch spares in the closing boxes. He is a great clutch bowler. So being down by a dozen or so pins really doesn't faze him all that much. No, there was a roadblock down there. Burt takes a 9. And so does Danny Murphy. Burt has not been on the show for quite some time. He was with us about 3 years or so ago on the Super Bowl show and lost to Steve Popolo and partner in the opening round. He is intent on winning now, though. A strike in the 6th for Burt Nicholls. So Danny Murphy's going to have to come up with some more last-second excitement in order to pull this one out. Danny with 9, so we'll take inventory here. Danny with 9, that's 80 through 7. And our challengers have, with that strike, 72 plus 2 bonus balls through 7. There you see it. So a big fill here would get that lead back up to the 20-pin range for Burt Nicholls and Bob Delafontaine. And that is a big hit. And with 1 bonus ball to go as well. All right, Danny Murphy. Maybe a strike. Oh, no. Oh, so close. But he's got the path cleared down there for a spare anyway. Burt Nicholls spares on the strike. So it's a 22-pin lead through 7. Danny Murphy then desperately needs his spare to keep pace. And, well, he got it. Didn't get it as surely as he wanted to, but he got it nonetheless. So 2 marks in the 8th. Danny is going to need quite a finish, however, in the 9th and 10th, and has to hope that Burt Nicholls doesn't come up with any more marks. Each bowler working on a spare. Burt adds 8 for an even 100 now through 8. Danny with but 6 and 96 through 8. So through 8, the lead is 24 pins in favor of the challengers. And Burt with 3 in a row. So there's bonus money. $50 for Bob Delafontaine and Burt Nicholls. So we're going to have some new champions. The 2-week reign of Danny Murphy and Steve Vadney is over. Danny with a 9. And 105. Now Burt here has an opportunity to go for that 275 total and an extra 200. A 136, remember, in the opening string. They would need a total of 139 here. So he needs some more marks. Burt, well, with another mark. So there's 4 in a row and another $50 in bonus money. These guys have done pretty well bonus-wise. Danny Murphy gets his mark as well in the 10th. So this thing is settled. All that's not settled here is whether Burt could get a strike and another $50 in bonus money. They're not going to get to the 275 total. Although they get very, very close with an 8 on the spare and some good bowling by our challengers here. And it's good bowling, but a little bit too late by Danny Murphy as he finishes up with a strike on the spare and 125 total. So let's take a look at all the numbers now for our new champions, Bob Delafontaine and Burt Nicholls. 136 to open, 135 to close, and a 271. And for our now ex-champions, Danny Murphy and Steve Vadney, a 116 to open, which really set them too far behind, and then the 125 to close, and a 241. We'll be back with our new and old champs right after this. Well, after 3 weeks, we have to say goodbye to Steve Vadney and Dan Murphy. I guess we'll see you again, huh?
Well, I hope so.
No last second heroics this time.
No, I gave him too much of a heavy load this time.
All right, we'll see you guys again. Thanks. Steve Vadney and Dan Murphy, and our new champs, Bob Delafontaine and Burt Nicholls. Things worked out pretty well your first time around with us, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. You know,
okay.
I didn't help him too much. He did it all.
All right, you need 4 more pins to get to the 275. You'll work on that next week, right?
Definitely work on that next week.
All right, these guys will be back for 2 in a row next week against Herb McCarroll and Tom McKee. Hope you join us. For everyone here at Fairway Sports World, have a good afternoon now.